So you are the fourth generation coffee farmer. So your ancestors, like, they did it in the 1950s, the first coffee plantation of your farm.
Somewhere around 90 to 100 years back.
I think back then, now coffee is coffee. Back then, it was they're just trying like a new adventure, like growing coffee. So I think they have struggled a lot to the point like to establish a farm. Do you know like how did they start and what was the struggle and how did the transition? So since you are the fourth generation coffee farmer, so how did the transition take place?
So my great grandfather, his name was Domingo Mascarenhas. He was the one who actually left Mangalore, came towards Chikmagaluru, found a place in Margundi village, okay, and he actually opened a little shop. They used to call it Angadi.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah.
and they used to have these shops, and what he did is he was very interested in buying a small plot, starting with the coffee production. And yeah, he opened the shop and he tried to make enough money in order to do that. And then slowly, he was able to make that money. He bought a plot and he just started planting the coffee trees because it was a
Entrepreneur.
plain land. Yeah. Yeah, it was a plain land. It's not like there was a forest, they cut down the forest. It's not that type of story. Okay. And he planted the coffee plants and he started, producing the coffee within 4 to 7 years, which would have been a really, really difficult time for him, to, spend so much money and then wait for 4 to 7 years to just get that back. And actually being there as a laborer at the farm, because, normally when you think of planters, you always see them like, okay, managing the estate or saying, okay, do this, do that. But for him, it was everything from scratch, And in fact, the things that I've heard about the things that he's gone through, he used to sell the coffee, right? So he has to give it to a curing works back then. So he used
What is curing?
Curing works is basically a place like a mill, right?
Okay.
So you have the beans and then you strip it out of that silver skin that's there. Yeah, you remove that, you try to polish and, grade the coffees according to, A grade, B grade, P berry, blah, blah. They do all of that and then, yeah, they would like export it or whatever, But he had to go and give it to this curing works, which was in Mangalore. So what they would do is they used to have bullock carts back then, right? All muddy roads. You can imagine Chamadi Ghats, how it was.
Carts to the bullock carts.
Yeah.
With the load of coffee.
Yes.
Nice.
So they had bullock carts and each thing would have like somewhere around, I think 7, like these wooden tray like
Got
thing,
it.
continuing, And they were like, his entire harvest of the year would be on that. And he would travel all the way from Chikmagaluru to Mangalore.
Through the Ghats.
Yeah, through the Ghats. And to worsen it, there used to be thieves at Chamadi. So they used to wait to loot these farmers,
Okay.
try to rob from
Did
them.
your grandfather has a gun or something?
I don't know how he handled that. I
Okay.
wish I knew. But that's the story, behind how much hardship has gone into, just that one particular instance. And then his son, Benjamin Mascarenhas, who started with German irrigation system. This was about I think you could say 50, 60 years back,
Okay.
right? So it was still, irrigation was a very new thing back then.
Okay.
So he started the German irrigation pipeline
So what's
system.
German irrigation?
It's basically irrigation. It's just the German, pipelines.
Okay.
Pipelines from there, which are fitted in the coffee plantation so that you can irrigate the coffee plants.
And this kind of sprinkler system?
Yes,
Okay.
it's like a sprinkler where the coffee gets enough water, especially during the scorching summer.
What was the irrigation system before that? It's just
We have a river actually just right beside, but I don't know
so
how
they
they
manually
really
go
would
and
have been
take
very
the-
would have been very
maybe.
manual. But this became very easy for him, by putting this, and because of the scorching, summers, this
Yeah,
was a very important thing. And if you don't irrigate, you don't get good flowers. And if you don't get good flowers, there's no pollination. If there's no pollination, there's no coffee cherries. There's no robusta at the end of it.
so that was the change, German
Yeah,
sprinkler system.
yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that is what he did. And then coming to my dad, that is Lionel Mascarenhas. So until then, till my dad, they have been actually producing cherry coffees.
Okay.
Which is basically you get the cherry and you dry it as a cherry. Whatever the process goes in the middle doesn't matter. But that's basically cherry coffee. But my dad started something called as parchment coffee. So it's basically removing the coffee skin
Okay.
from the fruit, yeah, and then removing the juicy mucilates that's there on top of the fruit. You're removing that, and all you have is the
Dry
washed
seed.
seed.
Okay.
Yeah, the washed seed. It's something that they had started back then. So this was he introduced it to our estate. Yeah, that was his contribution to our estate. Yeah, then I started with specialty. So what's really interesting is that every generation we have tried to go a level up.
Nice.
And so that's really nice, like getting to see how each generation is doing something different, stepping up their game.